Hey guys, this is Big Rat 310, and I just did something that I've never ever done before. I filmed a video that was so horrible, so ridiculously horrendous, that I actually had to redo it. Which is what I'm doing now, redoing it. Because that video was so bad. I was off on my timing, I took way too long in my explanations. My notes that I was reading from didn't make any sense because AMCN1's videos and Daniel Talks Pro S videos I hadn't seen in a while. So I'm trying to go over my notes, trying to go over the responses, and the notes don't make sense to me because the responses weren't fresh in my mind. So I just made a complete ass of myself for like 15 minutes. It was horrible. It was a total mess. The video went nowhere. It was horrendous. I got these awkward pauses. I don't know. Where I would just like my brain wouldn't focus and I would just be like staring at the screen and I'd be drinking from a cup and my god, it was a disaster and I had to delete it. Well, I deleted most of it, but here's the point. I didn't delete it, and then I wrote on Twitter how I thought how horrible the video came out, and then LV5454 tells me, hey, you could get the outtakes. And I thought, you know what, that'd be kind of fun because this has never happened to me before. It probably never will happen to me again. Like, even in my intro, I was off. I was just terrible. So I've included outtakes at the end of this video to show you what the video was originally going to be and how originally fucking horrible it came out. And it just would have been horrendous had I produced it that way. So now we're going to do a more proper, formalized video. Hey everybody, Big Rat 310's here again, back to give you my response to AMCN1 on proper Smychology Part 2. My response to him and to Daniel Talks Pro Res, but I'm not going to address him much because I agreed with almost everything he said. And I quickly want to talk about the ECWA Super 8 tournament. That's the thing. I also got the ECWA promotion wrong. I remember that. But yes, I want to quickly plug that. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this video, because that tournament is tomorrow, and I don't have a lot of time to plug it, and I kind of want to talk about it now, and because the show is like at 3:45. Sorry, 3:45 p.m. Like, to me, it's a great time slot because I have to babysit at that time, so I'm perfect. What a wonderful babysitter. I'm watching a wrestling pay-per-view. Nah, I'm kidding. It's my brother. He's across the room. He'll be fine. That room. Not that you guys needed to know that. Oh, great. We're just off as an amazing start as the previous video went. But anyways, I will be able to watch the show, and I'm looking forward to it. For those of you who don't know, I did a video reviewing the ECWA Super 8 tournament from last year, and I thought that show was horrendous. That show was the worst indie show I've ever seen in my life because it was just so. All the matches were short. All the guys were the exact same. I'm not trying to say that none of them had charisma or personality, because Consequences Creed, Nick Dinsmore, who's in his Eugene gimmick, and there was just one other guy I can't remember who just like was a little bit like a loose cannon, and he was kind of charming too. But really, it's just all the matches were short. In the ring, like, these guys had personalities in their entrances, but in the ring there was just standard boring wrestling. It was like all the matches were like 8-9 minutes. They were all the fucking same. They were so bland. It was just so horrible. It's the worst indie show I've ever seen in my life. I hated that show. So some of you may be asking, well, why the hell are you promoting this year's Super 8 tournament? Because this year's Super 8 tournament has a damn good cast. The Super 8 tournament used to be one of the biggest tournaments in indie wrestling back in late 90s, early 2000s. It used to be the biggest tournament in indie wrestling. I believe along with King of the Indies. However, in recent years, we've seen King of Trios, Bola, Ted Petty Invitational when it was at its height. We've seen a lot of tournaments come, and they've really become the mainstay wrestling tournaments of indie wrestling. And the ECWA Super 8 tournament kind of lost a lot of stock, and the attendance is pretty low too. The show I saw last year, no one was at that show. No one. However, the 8 guys they have this year, it's a pretty damn great cast of 8 guys. We have Austin Aries, pretty much every single one of you. Even if you haven't seen any of my Ring of Honor videos, you should have at least heard the name Austin Aries. That guy's awesome. Shiima Xion, who I've been a big fan of ever since 2009, his match in AAW against Johnny Gargano, which I really liked. And he actually sent me a message on YouTube thanking me for praising him in his match. And I really appreciated it. That was the first time like a wrestler actually thanked me for reviewing wrestling DVDs. So I took that to heart. So I've been a big fan of him ever since. I love his gimmick. I love his charisma. I think he's a great wrestler. I love Shiima's arm. Rich Swann, who everybody who's watching Dragon Gate USA should know how awesome he is. Adam Cole, who, come on, Adam Cole, who's doing great in Ring of Honor. He's doing amazing in CCW. He's on a roll right now. Tommaso Ciampa, who just debuted in Ring of Honor, and he's doing really well as well. Sami Callihan, who, if I had to name 3 wrestlers, who from the beginning of 2011 to now are just on a complete tear. Like they're making a name for themselves in indie wrestling. And they're just becoming three breakout stars. They're having great performances. They're winning a lot. They're winning all types of tournaments. They're in a bunch of different promotions. My 3 that I would tell you that are breaking out. John Gargano is close, but I don't know if I would quite say him. My 3 are Akira Tozawa, Zack Sabre Jr., and Sami Callihan. These 3 guys have just been on a tear. Sami Callihan especially. He almost won the best of the best. He won the Gold Carrot Cup tournament, and I personally think he's going to win this tournament too. It depends on how they feel with him going over Austin Aries. But yes, Sami Callihan is freaking amazing right now. And you have Sami Callihan, then you have a guy named Bobby Shields, who I've only seen wrestle once, I will admit, in PWO Resolution 3 in last August, with John Gargano fought Mack Cross. And that was, he did all right in the match. Not enough for me to like totally praise him and say he's this amazing athlete. I saw him in a tag match. I don't know much about him. I'm just going based off the little that I saw, and he was fine. So that's good. And then we also have SHOCKWAVE. Yeah. I should probably lower the volume on my speakers. We also have SHOCKWAVE the Robot. Yes, you heard that correctly. SHOCKWAVE the Robot. That gimmick is so amazing. That's all you need to know. SHOCKWAVE the fucking Robot. That doesn't sound awesome to you? What's wrong with you? So yes, SHOCKWAVE the Robot. Bobby Shields, Shiima Zion, Rich Swann, Austin Aries, Adam Cole, Sami Callihan, Tommaso Ciampa. Awesome cast there. There's some other matches. You know, Aiden Chambers is fighting Ace Darling. Papadon, Chris Wylde, and TJ and Kirby Mack are fighting Breaker Morant, Damian Dragon, Matt Saigon, and Josh Daniels. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Of those 8 guys, I know 2 of them. Papadon and Josh Daniels. However, if any of you local indie guys know any of these guys, hey, they're wrestling on the show too. There's going to be a battle royal. And, you know, there's going to be other stuff. So, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The eight guys especially, the brackets have been announced. Not the full bracketing, but the first 4 matches have been announced. Sami Callihan's fighting Adam Cole after seeing their best of the best match. I would really love to see this match. SHOCKWAVE the Robot is fighting Shiima Zion, which just sounds amazing. Bobby Shields is fighting Austin Aries, which I'm looking forward to. And Rich Swann is fighting Tommaso Ciampa. So, yeah, great shit there. I'm really excited to see a tournament. It's at 3:45 p.m., which I know everybody else is probably going to be watching UFC tomorrow night anyway, so it's probably, in hindsight, a good time to host the tournament if you had to do it this day. It's only $15. If you're gonna order Extreme Rules, which is like $50, but you wouldn't order this. I mean, come on, Extreme Rules has, I'm not kidding, I've been a WWE fan since 2001. Possibly the worst promoted main event I've ever seen ever. It's ridiculous how poorly promoted this main event is. By watching Raw, you would assume that the match for the pay-per-view is John Morrison versus R-Truth. No promotion whatsoever for Cena Miz Morrison. Like the past few weeks, freaking Cena, he had this thing with being drafted to Raw, then SmackDown, then Raw on Monday. His whole stint with The Rock, the Raw where he and R-Truth tied to win the number 1 contendership, which if anything just helped more put over Truth and helped him get a spot in the main event. And then the next week, like, Cena teamed with Sin Cara against The Miz, and it was in the middle hour segment of the show. How the hell does that build? That's a fucking house show match. That's a house show angle. That does not build to the main event of a pay-per-view. This pay-per-view is so horrendously been promoted. I am looking forward to see the Christian match because I do think Christian's winning the title. Although a part of me does think that Alberto Del Rio might win the title, and then Cena wins the title, and then Alberto beats Cena, unifies both titles, and then, because the rumor is they want to do Cena versus Alberto Del Rio at SummerSlam, then Cena chases Alberto Del Rio, the unified world champion, at SummerSlam because right now Wade Barrett and Sheamus are on the same brand. Then we unify those titles too. I know many people are saying, oh, Sheamus is going to lose to Kofi Kingston. Hey, it could happen. I'm just saying they've already unified 2 titles. They've openly stated how they don't like having so many titles, and they have talked about unifying the world titles. Although I do agree, if you're going to do it, it has to be at WrestleMania. Just my opinion. But maybe the titles don't mean anything by this point that it doesn't matter. So yeah, you're going to order Extreme Rules, but you're not going to order this. Come on, give this show a chance. Definitely worth your $15. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a really good show, so please check it out. That's my plug for ECWA. Links down below for ECWA, all you need to know. I'll give the GoFi Live link. I'll give a link to Shockwave the Robot, just because. And I'll give you a link to the card. But yeah, good shit. Alright, now we get to AMC N1's video. Hopefully I do this right. If you see the outtakes AMC N1, I sincerely apologize for how the video originally turned out. But let me first say this. In regards to purists. I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm a big fan of yours, just so you know. I watch all your videos. I think you're an amazing job. And I still remember when I first saw your videos back at my Book the Push challenge. That's when I'm not gonna get credit for putting someone over, but like I saw that and I showed it to Hammer and Sanders. I'm like, hey, look at this guy, man. He just he just started out. Hey, give him a shot. God knows what he's talking about. And then like I got rave reviews from everybody after that contest saying that you should have won. Believe it or not, I don't know if I ever told you that. A lot of people, I got a lot of messages saying that you should have been the winner as opposed to Instant Classic G1. And so yeah, I've been a big fan of this guy ever since. If I can't, I'm gonna plug him. Go subscribe to AMCN1. AMCN1, awesome videos, great, very knowledgeable about Puro, and I love how he gives his thoughts on how matches should be constructed. I find him very thought-provoking. Now, let me get to my thing on purist. You're not a purist, not in my opinion. But these are some Japanese purists on message boards. And this is why I started the Smychology video in the first place. Because these are the type of people that really bother me. Because, look, I understand how they want all matches to have aesthetics and for all matches to have narratives. And, you know, like, I'll use the exact words you used on my King of Trios review. Control segments, comebacks, blah, 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 blah. They think that there has to be a set pattern where heel work over face, work over body parts, something, tell the narrative that way, and you know, you could probably get your match. I hate people who think that, I don't hate people, I don't hate anybody, but I don't like it when people think that that's the only way to properly do a match. Because if that was the only way a crowd could react to a match, then fine. But it's been proven that that's not the only way that happens. Look, the wrestlers in the ring, they're trying to get the crowd into the match. That's why Edge, after WrestleMania 17, because the miking of the crowd was horrible for the wrestlers, where we, us fans who are watching on television, we could hear the crowd very well. But the wrestlers in the ring in big stadiums, as in the True Story of WrestleMania DVD, they all say how when they're wrestling in the ring, they can't hear the pops from the crowd very well in stadiums. That's why Edge was furious after his TLC match. I saw this on an interview, and the DVD said something else, but he was not happy because he didn't think that the crowd were reacting to his spots. He thought he didn't do his job. That's what a lot of these wrestlers have this mindset. Their goal is to make sure the crowd gets into the match. They use their psychology to get the crowd into it. And I feel a lot of these purists feel that it must go down a certain way. And if that certain way was the only way a crowd would get into a match, fine. But that's been proven false. Evolve 7. I'll use Undertaker Triple H, like you brought up, because I want to talk about that. But Evolve 7. AR Fox fought Rich Swann. That match was an absolute total spot fest. It was right after intermission, and it was just 7 minutes of straight high-flying spots. And you know what? The crowd loved it. The crowd was going crazy for that match. And for some purists to say, oh, that match sucked. It didn't have a proper narrative aesthetic. And AR Fox and Rich Swann would go to them and say, what are you talking about? We went in there, the crowd went insane, and yeah, we did our jobs. We're pretty sure that the crowd liked that match. That was a good match. Promoters backstage, they see a match like that. They see a match that has a narrative and an aesthetic, but the crowd isn't reacting nowhere near as much. Well, the promoter might think, hey, you know what? Rich Swann AR Fox's match was better. Each crowd is different. I love this answer. They asked Dave Meltzer on one of his shows, what would you say is the best definition of psychology in wrestling? And Dave Meltzer says 2 words, whatever works. Whatever works. If you go to Dragon Gate and you have a proper Noah style, hard hitting, proper aesthetic match in the ring, and the crowd, like, I guess Dragon Gate USA would be better. Let's say Dragon Gate 2, because I know the Dragon Gate crowds aren't as receptive as people think they are, because they are Japanese wrestling fans, and Japanese wrestling fans in general tend to be very quiet. But still, it's not the point. These fans who are more accustomed to this high-paced, flashy spot, nice style, you bring something different to them, and they're not going to react as much to it. Well, it didn't work for that crowd, and therefore the match didn't do its proper job. And every wrestler will say this. Almost every wrestler will tell you, this man, this great man, Lou Thesz. Yes, I still have not finished reading this book. I'm killing myself that I haven't done that. But if what they're doing, they're not getting a crowd reaction. That's why if you look at here a great example, Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe from Lockdown 2008. They were doing their MMA stuff at the beginning, and the crowd didn't give a shit. In fact, there were even some boring chants. So what did they do? They changed the match. They went one way. When that one way didn't work, they went another. If wrestlers truly, if getting the crowd into the match wasn't their primary goal, then for guys like Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, if the crowd wasn't into it, they would just say, hey, fuck it. That's not our goal. Let's just continue with what we were doing. But no, they thought, you know what, the crowd doesn't like what we're doing, so we're going to change it. As did, I don't know why TNA is a good example for this. They did this a lot in 2008. Booker T and Samoa Joe in their cage match. Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt, when they had that horrible tuxedo match, black tie brawl and chain. They realized that the crowd was really hating this. So the last few minutes, they kind of just said, fuck it. And they just did a bunch of X Division spots, hoping to save as much of the match as they could. You know? That's why wrestlers react that way. So yes, even though that is part of a live aspect, like you said, that's what they're going to go on. They're not going to go on the fact that, I'm pretty sure, let me find a good example. I guess I'll just use Joe and Angle. I'm pretty sure Joe and Angle didn't care if a bunch of wrestling fans watching on pay-per-view thought that the MMA stuff that they were doing was good. I'm pretty sure that they could only judge by the crowd that night. Just like wrestlers, even though it's from a live point of view, they can really only judge if what they're doing is working by the crowd that night. If the crowd is not reacting, now there are cases, obviously, dead crowds the whole night, but if the crowd truly isn't reacting, the wrestlers feel that what they did didn't work. And that's why it's not just a part of the live aspect of wrestling. This is what wrestlers use. Several wrestlers have said this. I'm trying to be one of these internet marks who thinks he knows what he's talking about, but he really doesn't. No, wrestlers have said this in several interviews. The crowd didn't care, so therefore I felt I failed. Simple. Happens all the time. They were instructed how to work a crowd. Now, that's my main point when it comes to psychology and stuff. If there was a set way of doing things that can get a crowd really into a match, does it really matter how they got there? If the end result is the same, does it really matter how it got there? Now, I understand that there's some wrestling fans who they can't believe. It's to them, they have to be able to suspend disbelief through proper narratives and aesthetics. And when wrestlers abandon that, when they forget selling and all that stuff, and some wrestling fans can't buy into it, and therefore the match isn't enjoyable for them, that's a different story. Then it wasn't enjoyable for you. And I will say, apparently I said this because you said this in your video, but I'm gonna retract it. Just because the crowd likes it, but I myself didn't like it, doesn't matter. The crowd liked it, it's a good match. Not true. If I myself, the reason why I defend the Spotfest stuff is if the crowd enjoyed it, if the crowd was really into it, I myself thought I enjoyed it, then I'm not going to bash it and say, oh, it didn't follow proper aesthetics, so you know what? No, that was a shitty match. No. However, if the crowd enjoyed it, like you used a great example, TNA. There are so many times where a TNA crowd will go ballistic for the littlest things. If the crowd liked it, that's Spotfest, but I thought the Spotfest dragged, It wasn't an enjoyable match. It was kind of a little bit unrealistic, and I couldn't enjoy it because of that. It just got a little too crazy for me, even by my standards. Too many kickouts, all this stuff. I'm not gonna praise that match, even though that TNA crowd was going amazing. No, you shouldn't. That's why Daniel Talks Pro Wrest will not praise Tyler versus Davey. He legitimately was bored during that match because he cannot buy into a match that works like that. That's perfectly fine. Repetitiveness. I totally understand what you're saying with Ring of Honor, but the thing is, Ring of Honor, all the wrestlers do not follow the set formula on how to get a crowd into a match. That's why there's so many different ways they can construct a match and get the crowd into it. There's a reason that people say that Kings of Wrestling versus Briscoes from Big Bang had great psychology, because they got the crowd into it. Yes, they did peak too early. No one denies that. But they did get the crowd little by little going insane for that match. Now, for a proper aesthetic sell point, that match completely abuses selling, and it completely abuses time. You guys fought for like 30 fucking minutes. It was insane. That's why I personally prefer the Death Before Dishonor match. It has a more proper flow, and it seems a little more in place to me. But I can totally see what you're saying through the high mark spot. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of these purists, they need to have that set aesthetic. They need to have that set aesthetic, and that to me is not the way it should be done. The crowd is entertained. Live aspects of wrestlers runs. Crowds can be match enhancers. They can be match killers. Yeah, they can. They can kill a match, a la Tyler Black versus Austin Aries, Final Battle 2009, and they can really help a match, a la Chris Hero versus Akira Tozawa, Bola 2010. That was amazing. I just came up with that on the spot. Not really. Chris Hero, Akira Tozawa. I already had written next to the point, but still, that was pretty sick. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about. My favorite matches are, don't get me wrong, my favorite match are those matches that follow proper narratives. The reason I really loved Austin Aries versus Jon Moxley from Evolve 7, that match, if you watch it, you'd think, quality-wise, that match isn't that great. Well, it's good. It's really good, but it's not great. But I just love the narrative that they told in that match. That narrative in that match really spoke to me. I really enjoyed it. And something that seems such a flat ending, or an ending that ended too early, to me makes perfect sense. Austin Aries, like, they abused it at one point. Jon Moxley kicks out of a 450 splash, and he kicked out of a brainbuster, and Austin Aries just kept abusing him with drop kicks, and Moxley kept, like, this was his last match, and he kept saying, "You can't fucking knock me down," because that's another way aesthetics can go. Eddie Kingston wrestles like that. Masato Yoshino wrestles like that. Akira Tozawa wrestles like that. Where they don't necessarily sell. They more use the mentality, you can't take me down. And if you do, I'm going to get right back up. And that's how it's going to be. And Moxley, he was adamant, you cannot fucking beat me. You cannot take me down. And Aries realized, oh shit, I can't take this guy down. I've literally done everything possible, and he's still not being pinned. So Aries tries to out-wrestle him. And he out-wrestles him by sitting down on a roll-up and pins him that way, because he knew he couldn't beat him by trying to knock him down. And that narrative, to me, was awesome. That's why I really enjoyed that match. Bryan Danielson versus Johnny Gargano. I still think about that match to this day. Like, I still remember it vividly, like bell to bell. That match almost perfectly, because of how Danielson worked over Johnny Gargano's arm, and they mentioned how Johnny Gargano's arm was a big part of his finisher, of his style, because he's a Southern Paw and all this stuff. That match spoke volumes to me. I love watching wrestling and getting a story. That's what wrestling is. It's to tell us. It's supposed to be to tell stories. I love watching a match and analyzing and finding that great story. That's why I love watching wrestling, to find those great stories. My favorite matches are the matches that have proper narratives. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be like that in order to be considered a good match. That's just my opinion because of the way that those wrestlers were taught. Level of good and amazing are all levels of good. I loved your Hulk Hogan example because, like I said, like I could give credit to Hulk's way to connect with the crowd, but I myself didn't like the match, so I'm not going to say it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. No, not at all. And Vengeance 2002 Triple Threat's a fucking awesome match, all right? Yes, completely abuses a finisher. There's a point in that match, there's like a 5-minute period where everybody does each other's finishers and everybody kicks out. I remember specifically, first Rock gives Undertaker a choke slam, and then Kurt Angle gives The Rock a rock bottom, and then The Rock gives Kurt Angle the ankle lock, and then The Undertaker gives Angle the angle slam. This is like in a 3-minute period. This isn't even towards the end of the match when they hit their own finishers on each other, like when The Rock gives Angle a rock bottom and stuff like that. They completely abused it in that match, but that match is so awesome. I love that match. Just saying. And also for, I guess I'll get to Daniel Talks Pure Rest next. I don't expect him to get a proper thing from this though, but Daniel Talks Pure Rest. His video was amazing because he basically said, Big Red, I don't think you understand how an aesthetic viewpoint is. A true aesthetic viewpoint means how the crowd enjoys the match, that doesn't affect an aesthetic viewpoint because aesthetic viewpoint is 100% objective. Now, he did make a good point. If the crowd isn't into the match, and you, because the crowd isn't into it, you're not as into it, and your own enjoyment of the match suffers, then it can be considered. Just like if the crowd is amazing, your enjoyment of the match is greater than what it normally would be, then it would be a part of an aesthetic viewpoint. But just because they care about it or not, that doesn't affect an aesthetic viewpoint. You measure the observable. And he made a great point because I didn't understand. I knew what aesthetic viewpoint was, but I didn't factor that into it. I just thought that he had to include it. But that's not how he views matches aesthetically. He's right. We're not really disagreeing on anything. That's just how he sees matches because of how he got into pro wrestling. That's how he wants to see them. Whereas, and I totally agree with ACN once said this, in a match, there's some matches that the psychology doesn't make any sense if you don't know the feud. Like the Kevin Cena El Generico matches perfectly. If you had never seen that feud and you, like Daniel Fox Pro Wrest, don't give a shit about the history, you watch it simply by the match and you judge it by the match and nothing else, then that match doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you've seen the entire feud, that match means so much more, and each move means so much more than it did. That's why, in my opinion, storylines should take into account in aesthetic viewpoints how you view a match, because they do make the moves you observe feel just more important than they normally would. Maybe it's not classified as viewing aesthetic, but hey. But yeah, he made a great video. I really love this video. And I really love the MCM1's video too. The reason it took me so long to get back to both these two because I was waiting for a few other people to make video responses, but no one else did. These were the only two. So, alright. But yeah, that's my video. Hope you understand my viewpoint from it. I hope to hear from you, AMCN1. I expect a comment or a video response or something. But yeah, this video is much, much better organized than the last one was. Seriously, I was pretty embarrassed with the last video. And go order the ECWA show. Give it a chance. Check out the links I provided at least. Check out Shockwave the Robot. Please, check out Shockwave the Robot. And yeah, that's all I have for today. And enjoy the outtakes of me fucking up. I'm out, guys. Hey guys, it's Big Red 3 here again. About to give you another video on psychology, Smychology, and the what's that promotion called? It does a Super 8. ECCW. The ECCW Super 8 tournament. Here, let me just pull up our Go Fight Live. Yeah, so the ECCW Super 8 tournament. They do a great job with the tournament every year. I will admit that last year I was not a big fan of this. Oh, it's not the ECCW. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe listening to David Richards interview, I think. It's the ECWA Super 8 tournament. Super 8. We're off to a wonderful start here. Alright, now let's get started with psychology. But when it comes to the proper psychology of how a match should go, though, the crowd necessarily has to... Yes, okay, I do understand, but checklift wrestling is wrong, though. When you, check down certain things, that a match must be this, in order for a crowd to do this. It's been proven that there are many ways that a crowd can react to a match. Maybe I shouldn't constantly drink during videos. It's iced tea. Iced tea. For those who think I'm consuming some other substance at the age of 17 on YouTube. Yeah. God, this video is going so fucking horrible. Everything about this video has gone so possibly wrong, it's ridiculous. Whatever. Let's just keep on with this. Alright, where was I? Chuckles Wrestling. No. This most likely will not air on YouTube because there's no freaking way that this whole video can come out properly. Alright. Crowds. There's no, I mean, it really makes no sense, but, alright. Whatever. Alright. Get trending. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Wow, I really can't focus right now. This is just awesome. This is the greatest video I've ever made, hasn't it? Alright, let's get to this list. This list of bullet points that I put down in my video response to AMC and 1. However, I did not see your video before I did this video, so I'm kind of just going through it. Crowd can be enhancers, they can be match killers. That doesn't make any sense. And I wrote Chris Hero, Akira Tozawa in parentheses. But that's not a match killer, that's an enhancer. So as an example, I put that next to the most. I don't know, we'll skip that one. Measuring sticks to measure how good a match is based on Sports Center. That makes no sense. Live events, house shows, all features wrestler who wrestles in front of nationally televised audiences. No, but that's not true. Alright. My own notes are fucking retarded here. Thank you very much. Alright, fine. Moving on. Sorry. Entertaining the crowd does not mean a good match, but it does not mean a bad one. Alright, this thing is the worst fucking video in the world. I'm trying to do a proper video response here. I don't know why I haven't clicked stop recording, but I haven't. And I'm here trying to do my proper video response to AMC 1, and it's not working at all. Alright. Damn. So that's how the repetitiveness for Ring of Honor, you know, that I can kind of sympathize with, whereas for Noah, I think it's a little bit of a different story. And my last bullet point, hopefully this one makes some lick of sense. Level of good. Good through amazing are all levels of good. Good through... Same goddamn thing! Oh. Alright. We're done here. This video was horrendous. I'm so sorry we had to sit through this. I'm probably gonna end up reshooting this. Goodbye.